Hey again, everyone. So it's Turtles again, and I'm very happy to report the evening before my top surgery. It is May 23rd, 2012, and I am pretty thrilled right now. I'm a little bit flustered, but mostly really calm and really happy and really, really thankful to be here right now. I thought I would take this opportunity to answer a question which may be on some of your minds. So, Turtles, how did you come to have and why did you choose to have top surgery now before you're on testosterone, when you're not positive you want to be on testosterone, and for that matter, before you are even completely sure how you identify? And I guess for me, it boils down to one pretty simple thing, the why at least, and that's that I'm really dysphoric about my chest. I feel like I've always kind of been more physically dysphoric than like socially dysphoric, and the physical dysphoria that I've noticed has always that's been front and center of it for, the whole time that I've experienced it. So that's pretty safe to say. I've dealt with it in different ways over the years, way, way back before I even knew of the existence of the trans community. When I was in like high school, I tried binding using like ace bandages and stuff. It's really funny in retrospect, given that I didn't even know that was a thing. And various other methods like, wearing tight swimsuits under my clothes, or I even sort of made myself a, binder of sorts out of like old fabric scraps and safety pins. It was really, really pathetic and didn't work very well, but it did the trick for a little while in there. And after that, I kind of decided that that was all pretty futile, and those methods didn't work that well, and were really uncomfortable and just weren't sustainable. I just figured, I'm going to have to get used to this reality sooner or later, given that I didn't realize there was any other option. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just kind of use the compression bras, which they really don't compress. let me just give away there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe they're better than nothing, but for me, they never really did what I wanted them to do. After I moved to the Bay Area and I started meeting trans men and genderqueer people and other folks, in person, I realized, well, I kind of have options, I started binding, using actual binders that like actually worked, with increasing regularity. At first it was sort of an experimentation, but I'll tell you, even back in those days when I just, was trying it out and wasn't really sure, wow, I just was kind of blown away how much of a difference it made, seeing myself with like a flattened chest and being able to just like walk down the street, like my clothes like finally fitting right. It was just like the best feeling in the world. And I mean, I started passing too, and that had other effects that I can go into later. And I found that I really appreciated that. But even just the physical experience of binding was incredible how much more comfortable in my body I felt. So, comfortable in my body, but then, I also eventually realized, the more I started binding every day, every time I went out for hours and hours on end. I just kind of realized, this isn't honestly very sustainable either. I mean, the sort of just constant pain that you get, I mean, it's sad, but it's real. I mean, I just found it really, really hard to breathe, especially when I tried to like even like jog for a block or something, or like walk up a steep hill. It was kind of sad. I couldn't do like bike around like I used to, or go for hikes or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, I really appreciated what the binder did, but I mean, it just was not something that I could do for the rest of my life. So I figured top surgery is going to be a good option in the future. But basically the long and short of it is I want top surgery because I'm dysphoric, and I have sort of come to grips with the fact that that's okay, and I don't need any other reason. I realized that like usually just because of kind of both the history of the way the medical establishment works and just other logistical things, like, it's top surgery is often not covered by insurance, and so there's financial constraints, and it's also just, it is kind of a big step. So, I mean, I understand there's many, many different reasons that people, in the past have tended to, like, had to either chosen to or been sort of forced by circumstances to postpone that until, like, kind of a later time in their transition. But given that things have worked out on the insurance front for me, and I'm dysphoric, I kind of have come to a place where I'm totally happy to go ahead and do this regardless of how I identify. I think that's important. I think as long as you're going to be comfortable with yourself no matter what, and you know that it's causing you discomfort in the present, then I think that that is a totally valid step, provided that you can make the circumstances work out, which, you know, is easier said than done sometimes. Even for me, it did take some negotiation and work to get all of the, you know, everything in order. But, you know, and I think that's what I would say. Like, it shouldn't have to be something that is, you know, so like necessarily tied to one particular gender identity and one particular sort of transitional path. I mean, I think for a lot of people, it just makes a lot of sense to do it earlier than other things. And I don't even think it's the sort of thing where you necessarily have to know exactly how you're going to identify, because honestly, I mean, you never really know how those things are going to change, you know, 5 or 10 years down the road. And I've got to say that a lot of the contributors here on YouTube have like been a huge influence on me, in that respect too. Just like seeing other people who were either, you know, genderqueer identified or butch identified, or just still questioning, sort of like I am, you know, just like, you know, or like vaguely trans, but they're not really sure exactly what transitional steps they want to pursue. Like seeing them, you know, be in their position and go ahead with top surgery anyway has been like really inspirational and sort of changed my whole, you know, sort of shift in the whole worldview. It's sort of like not really the dominant narrative, but it's really cool to see an increasing amount of people sort of blazing their own path. I mean, honestly, I think any kind of transition requires, you know, a lot of integrity and honesty and courage. I mean, you know, it's not necessarily something that we choose, like, oh, we're so brave, we go down this path, but like, you know, it takes guts. So, I mean, I'm just really grateful for all the people that have been, you know, going ahead with this.